Welcome student in today's class. Our topic is what is democracy, why democracy. In this chapter we will learn meaning of democracy, important features of democracy and broader meaning of democracy. So let's start with this. What is democracy? Democracy is a form of government where people has the power to choose his or her representative. So here we know people has the power. Next, we come to the origin of the word democracy. The word democracy is derived from two Greek words, demos meaning people and kratia meaning rule. And here we have the very popular definition of democracy according to Abraham Lincoln, one of the greatest presidents of USA. He defined democracy is the government of the people, by the people, for the people. And next we come to the important feature of democracy. First, we have rulers elected by the people. Second, measure decision by elected leaders. Third, free and fair election. Fourth, election in regular intervals. Fifth, one person, one vote, one value. Sixth, rule of law and respect of rights. These 6 important features are very, very important to call a government a democratic form of government. Without any of this feature, we cannot call a government a democratic form of government. So let's know in detail about this first feature, rulers elected by the people. Here we all know that rulers are elected by the people. Then who are rulers? It's very easy. Ruler are those who are elected by the people through election. So we have president, prime minister, member of parliament. So these people, all who are elected by the people are rulers. So if a country's head is not elected by the people, then that is not democracy. So next we come to second feature, measure decision by elected leaders. A democratic government is one in which the people's representative participate in decision-making process. So they own a collective responsibility for all the decisions taken by the government. So all the important decisions of the country for the betterment of the citizen, for the development of the country, all such decisions are taken by elected representative of the people. But in some countries, such decisions are not taken by the elected representative of the people, even though they have elected representative in the country. So such is happen in many countries where there is dictatorship and monarchy form of government. So to know this in detail, we have the story of Pakistan. In Pakistan, people formally have elected parliament and government, but the real power is with those who is not elected by the people. So in October 1999, General Pervez Musharraf overthrew the democratically elected government and declared himself chief executive of the country. He overthrew the democratically elected government through military coup and declared himself the chief executive of the country, means head of the country. So in 2002, he issued a legal framework order. According to this order, the president can dismiss the national or provincial assemblies. The work of civilian cabinet is supervised by a National Security Council, which is dominated by military officers. So instead of giving power to the elected cabinets, power is given to the National Security Council, dominated by the military officers. So power is in the hand of the military officer, not in the hand of the elected representative. So how could we call this a representative form of government. So final decision or power rests in the hand of Pervez Musharraf. So the final decision-making power must rest with those elected by the people. Only then we can call that form of government is democratic. Next, we come to the third important feature of democracy, that is free and fair electoral competition. Vote without any fear and threat is what we know as free and fair election. So a fair election is one in which those persons who are currently in power have a fair chance of losing if they didn't fulfill the people wants and they haven't done well the administration, then they have chance to lose in the coming election. So to know this free and fair election, we have story of China. In China, elections are regularly held after every 5 years for electing the country's parliament called National People Congress. The National People's Congress has the power to appoint the president of the country. Some members are elected by the army. It has nearly 3,000 members from all over China. But before contesting elections, a candidate needs the approval of the Chinese Communist Party. Here we find that election is not free, as a candidate want to be candidate, then the person needs to take approval from the Chinese Communist Party. So it is not free election. The government is always formed by one party, that is Communist Party of China. So here we know that election is not free and fair here in China. So this is not democratic one. And again we have one example we have one example of Mexico. Since Mexico got independent in 1930, whole election in every 6 years to elect its president, and the country has never been under a military or dictator's rule. But even though this country has never been under a military or dictator's rule, even though here election is held, this country's government is not a democratic one. Let's find out. The PRI is the party use many dirty tricks to win election. So all government officials and or teachers are used to force parents to vote for the PRI. And sometimes the polling booths were shifted from one place to another in last minutes. Media largely ignored the activities of opposition political parties except to criticize them. And it used large sum of money in campaign for its candidate. So it's not free and fair one. So this one is also not the democratic form of government. Next we come to another important feature of democracy: one person, one vote, one value. So each adult citizen must have one vote and each vote must have one value, so that that government could be called as a democratic one. So adult citizen means certain age. With the reach of that, a citizen can give vote to elect his or her representative. So this is what we know as adult citizen. In India, we have the age of 18. If a citizen reached the age of 18, then that person has right to elect its representative. So next, a true democracy grants its citizen right to vote, that is universal adult franchise. So universal adult franchise is very important feature of a democracy. Next, we have rule of law and respect for rights. So the state should respect some basic right of the citizen. People should free to think, to have opinion, to express their views in public and to form association and to protest. Such kind of freedom should be given to the people, such right to be given to the citizens. Without this, there is no rule of law and there is no respect of rights. So everyone should equal in the eye of law. There is no difference among the citizen of the country. Even the person is rich or poor, even the person is in highest post like president, officers, prime minister, or any physical worker, all are similar in the eye of law. So we have example of Zimbabwe to know this rule of law and respect for rights. Zimbabwe attained independence from minority rule in 1980. ZANU-PF, the party, led the freedom struggle movement under the leadership of Robert Mugabe. Zimbabwe got independent in 1980, and who led the freedom struggle? Leader Robert Mugabe. And Mugabe was popular, but also very popular leader, and got elected. And Mugabe was popular, but also used unfair practice to win the election. If an unfair practice is used in the election, it is not the feature of a democratic form of government. So the constitution amended so many times in Zimbabwe to increase the power of the president Mugabe and make him less accountable. Accountable here means people can ask questions to the working of the government. People have right to know, people have right to criticize. This is what we known as accountable form of government. But Mugabe made his government less accountable to the people. Opposition party workers are harassed and their meeting disrupted, and public protests against the government are declared illegal. So television, radio are controlled completely by the government. So here we find that these features are not the features of a democracy, even though election is held here. A democratic government rules within the limits set by constitutional law and citizen rights. So we end the features of democracy here. Next we comes to why democracy? Why people want this democratic form of government? So we have argument in support of democracy, why people favor this democratic form of government in many countries of the world. So it is more accountable form of government. As I said, accountable means people can have people can ask questions to the working of the government. People can criticize. People have the right to know the functioning of the government, and it improves the quality of decision making as decision is taken by discussing any matter in detail by many elected representatives. So the decision taken like in that manner improve the quality of decision making. And next we have it provides a method to deal with difference and conflicts, and it allows us to correct its own mistake. It is better than other form of government. It is considered the best form of government. So here we have some supportive point or advantage point of democracy. Next we have argument against the democracy. Many people are against democracy on the basis of some demerits. So here we have leaders keep changing in democracy, so it leads to instability. If leader keep on changing, then whatever the decision programs started by one government before completing that one new form of government chosen in the election, then that program or that schemes stop before completing it. So that's what we call instability. Next, it's all about political competition and power play. Many people have to consult it in democracy that leads to delayed while taking decisions, while making important decisions. People have to consult, discuss in different ways. While decision is to be taken, then decisions are goes on. Decision goes on for a long time, so it leads to delay. Next, elected leaders do not know the best interest of the people, so it's lead to bad decision. It based on electoral competition, so it leads to corruption also. So ordinary people do not know what is good for them, so they are unable to decide what is good and bad. So here are some of the arguments against the democracy. Next, we come to the broader meaning of democracy. A representative democracy is one in which people elect their representative to legislature. Here I want to say democracy is divided into two: direct democracy and indirect democracy. Direct democracy decision is taken by people directly, and in representative democracy, indirect democracy, elected representative of the people take the decision. So this representative will form the government and govern them. So as I have said, democracy has two types. Here we have direct democracy. It is a political setup where the people themselves make the laws and the parliament directly in the functioning of the government. So decisions are taken on the base of the majority of the opinion. People directly take a decision here. And it is suitable for the geographically small countries with less population like ancient Greek, Rome, India. But in modern period we have Switzerland, but it is impossible for big countries with very high population. Everyone cannot sit together to take decisions. Indirect democracy is a second type of democracy. In the modern world, most of the countries are follow this indirect democracy. It is system in which the representatives are elected by the people and they act on behalf of the people. So in India we have this indirect democracy. They are also sensitive to cater the needs and opinion of the people. India, France, USA, most of the countries of modern days have this indirect democracy. So at last I have this difference between democratic and non-democratic government. Democratic government formed by the representative, and in representative are elected in a free and fair election. Major decision by the elected leaders. Citizens have right to oppose policy and action made by the government. Citizens have voting right, one person, one vote, one value. These are all the important features that we already discussed. This is the feature of a democratic government. But in non-democratic country, here the features are totally different from the democratic country. Here rule by force by a person or a group, by force rule here. And representatives are not elected by the people. Major decisions by non-elected leaders. We have discussed this non-elected leaders take decision in the case of Pakistan. We know that, and no criticism of government or ruler tolerated. That is what we discussed in uh, previous slides. Mugabe doesn't allow anybody to criticize his government. So no voting right is given to the citizen. So here we have different points between democratic government and non-democratic government. So we have end here. So I would like to end up with this for today's topic. Thank you